Facebook. You know, a lot of people, when they preach, people sit very quietly and they look at them, and in their mind they're thinking, oh, what a nice person. Isn't this a nice little message? And I'm just thinking that it's very religious and very nice, and I'm just kind of caught up with the nicety of it all. But I want you to go to Google and Google these 5 words. Tell, T-E-L-L, it, I-T, to, T-O, the, T-H-E, mafia, M-A-F-I-A. Those 5 words. Just Google those 5 words. Tell it to the mafia. And under all, not videos, not images, not maps, just all, go down about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You will come to a video and you will see an old man, and it's Joe Donata. And it says, Fresno man lives to tell about his life in the mafia. And then it says, the growth of the mafia matched the urban sprawl of Los Angeles during the 1950s. Joe Donata was a wealthy mobster back then, but he was not proud. Now, in 1973 or 4, I invited Joe Donata to speak at a Bible study in Beverly Hills. And here we had these sweet little Jewish ladies. There must have been 30 or 40 of them. And they were sitting there, drinking their coffee, eating their bagel. And Joe Donata walked in. Now, he didn't look like this. This is the way he looks today. But God has given him a long life. Back then, he was a black-haired, young, handsome guy. And so we said, Joe, come on up. We'd like to hear your talk tonight. So he goes up and he sits down in a chair and smiles at everybody. And then he pulls out his rap sheet and he passes it out. And it's got, you know, everything here. Murder, you know, the guy used a sawed-off shotgun. You know, it shows his mug shot. It shows the way he looked when, you know, when he was arrested. When the FBI was following him, when the news reporters of the local TV station were following him. And these Jewish ladies, they sat there with their mouth falling open, and they were shocked, and they were scared. They were really, really scared. But as they studied this man's face, they saw something had happened. When he told his testimony about the viciousness of his life, they could see he wasn't like that now. And there was a contrast between the Saul and the Paul. They weren't just seeing the nice little Paul giving a nice little homily. They were seeing the whole transformation, the whole metamorphosis, the whole miracle of the new birth, of what Yeshua can, of the work that is wrought in a life by the Son of God. And this is preaching. This is the gospel. And let me tell you something, everywhere Paul went, in effect, he passed out his rap sheet. And they knew who he had been. And they were a little scared. I hope he's really changed. Let's hear your message, Paul. They kind of held their breath, you know. They weren't quite sure that he had really changed. Maybe he was going to lock them all up, you know what I mean? Maybe he would take out his whip and go after them, you know. But once again, the glory of the gospel, what God can do, the work that is wrought in a life by the Son of God. And this is where most preachers fail, because unlike Joe Donata, they don't let it all hang out. They give a kind of sanitized picture of their old life. They really don't want to get into it. If the girl was basically a prostitute, no way would she say something like that, even dress it up with a word like strumpet. If the man was basically a thief, you know, going to the dime store, stuffing his pockets with merchandise, oh, he wouldn't go into that. He would talk about something else, you know, maybe his godly grandmother or maybe something else, but not that. Listen, friend, the real gospel has to shine through. And very often, when I introduce Linda down at Beth Shalom, I say, look, you're seeing her now. And you're thinking, what a sweet lady. But you have to understand, she was into transcendental meditation. She was suicidal. She almost threw herself in front of a subway train. She was a nervous wreck. She was an unhappy, wretched person. She was lost. She wasn't like this. Do you think she would have helped you then if you had said, please, you know, could you come down to Brooklyn and do something for us? Listen, she was into the opera. She had a career. She was going places in the music world, you know. And then I said, so don't look at her now and just think she's a sweet person, because then you'll miss Yeshua. You'll miss him. They didn't miss him when Paul preached, my friend. They did not miss him. They saw how Yeshua HaMashiach took a proud, arrogant man who was a vicious persecutor, who had the personality of Osama bin Laden, who had the compassion of Meir Kahane for Arabs, who was a stinker. And listen, let me tell you something. Only somebody in Jewish ministry who has been taunted and persecuted and prodded and bothered by these people knows how wicked they were and are. There's a million Saul of Tarsus out there right now. They're in Yad Lahim. They're in Kahani High. They're in Jews for Judaism. They're doing their shtick, you know. Oh, you say you believe in Yeshua. Can we have coffee? And then they have nothing better to do with their life than try to take people's faith away from them. Now, that's a sanitized Saul of Tarsus. He used a bullwhip. And let me tell you, when he preached, they saw the old and they saw the new. They saw the before and they saw the after. And I'm telling you, if you're a preacher, don't give people a sanitized picture of your old life. Let it all hang out. Let your slip show if you're a lady preacher. And tell them about your old life. Oh, you think I'm a nice person? Well, you should have been with me in 1972 when I was doing this or when I was doing that. And then you need to see, but he changed me and he can change you. And let me tell you something. If I needed to be changed, you need to be changed. Let's get down to brass tacks. Let's preach the gospel. The gospel is all about taking junk out of the junkyard and turning it into gleaming, beautiful, wonderful new merchandise. Hallelujah. Fit for heaven. Fit for heaven. Let me tell you something. If you had met me in 1967 or 68, you would have said, what a terrible person this guy is. I wouldn't want to be his friend. And thank God that the Lord got a hold of my life, because it was going downhill. It wasn't just that we were stinkers. We were stinkers headed for hell. And that's the other thing that gets left out of most messages. The word hell. We're afraid to say it. We don't want people to get too upset. But the fact is, my friend, that is called liberalism. And we don't want any of that. It won't help us at all. Liberal congregations are not growing, and their ministers are leaving the ministry. And this also applies to those in the Roman Catholic Church. They can't find a priest for the Mass. They've all left. Don't go that direction. Let it all hang out. Do what Joe Donata did. Pass out your rap sheet before you preach. Go to Google and Google "tell it to the mafia." Go down about 7 or 8 entries and you will see Fresno man lives to tell about his life in the mafia. And you'll get his testimony from the horse's mouth and not indirectly from me. And I'm telling you, it's the greatest testimony I ever heard. And I'm telling you something else. Those Jewish ladies in Beverly Hills were never the same afterwards. Never. Lord, I want to pray right now for every Joe Donata preacher that's out there, that they will pass out their rap sheet and show the old Saul and the new Paul in their testimony, and that they will unashamedly speak about hell and how this stinker that they used to be was not just a stinker, but he or she was a lost stinker headed for the flames. And make that clear to people so that they can get saved. And we'll give you all the praise and all the